This is the 1% Doctor, a podcast that takes you beyond the white coat, diving into unique stories and passions that drive top doctors in their specialties. We explore their journeys, what fuels their passion, and the human side of medicine, interviewing the best in the field to uncover what truly sets them apart. This is the human behind the doctor. And now, here's your host, Adam Lamb.
Welcome back to the 1% Doctor podcast. I'm your host, Adam Lamb. Today, we have a very special guest, good friend, just an awesome guy. I love this guy. Dr. Thomas is here with us today, and I'm excited for him to share his story. And he's somebody who I've got to get close with over the last 6 to 9 months, and just super impressive at the way he operates, the way he sees patient care, the way he sees business, and how he sees risk and takes action. I think his energy is impressive. So, Dr. Thomas, welcome to the show, 1% Doctor podcast. Thank you for being a guest. Let's dive in, man. I want to hear a little bit about what got you into medicine. What was really kind of the thing that made you decide I want to go start serving?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. Thanks for the kind words. It truly means a lot. So my route to medicine, it's almost like a parallel universe, is there's two routes happening simultaneously. I didn't come from a family of medicine or anything like that, but the first route was I grew up in athletics. I played baseball all the way through college. So with that, I saw many PTs, chiros, basically you name it, just trying to get the extra edge in sports. And I loved working out, loved the body, loved the human body. And I just kind of thought the human body was cool and that would be some type of discipline I'd go into. I didn't know the route, but I thought, athletics were cool and I was exposed to medicine through athletics. And then after college, in college, so I played through college. Then I went and worked for the University of South Carolina football team on the athletic training team, which again exposed me to, I got to see surgeries. I sat in on multiple surgeries, got to meet the chiropractors. I got to meet the physical therapists. I got to meet the whole staff, the psychologists, everything, which was a really, really cool experience. And we, SEC football team, you have all the bells and the whistles. You got the float tanks, you got the cold plunge. So not only did I get exposure, I got to do it myself, which was just really, really cool. So that was route number one. Route number two, which is a little bit more dark, but also a little bit more of the punch, was my freshman year in college. I went off to college, again, to play baseball. After my first semester, I came home and I was laying down with my girlfriend. I was like, there's something wrong. And I started dating my girlfriend in freshman year of high school. So we were dating, like 4 to 5 years. So we knew each other pretty well. She's my wife now. Anyways, I was like, there's something wrong. She's like, you're probably tired. It's, college is hard, all these things. And I was like, there's something seriously wrong. I think I'm dying. And long story short, went to the hospital, got multiple colonoscopies, CT scans, multiple diagnoses, and ultimately diagnosed with IBD, ulcerative colitis. And the route that they were putting me on was very, very poor. It was a very poor prognosis. It was basically, there's nothing we can really do for you, but you can take these drugs. We might have to remove some things, basically good luck. And that wasn't an answer for me. And I even there, coming from a standard Western American family, like my dad was like, is there anything he can do in his diet, anything he can do to help himself? And at that time, the answer was no. Now, that's not the truth, obviously. And that's not to put Western medicine down, but that was my exposure to true Western medicine. So that was fuel on my tank to get in medicine because I had to save myself because, I went from 170 pounds to like 125, which felt like overnight. I was going to the bathroom over 20 times a day, couldn't control my bowels, all of these things. And then, I'm in college. So I go from partying and drinking and living a life of greatness, what I perceived as greatness, to not being able to drink, not even being able to eat food, without my body being destroyed. And, it was a mental hurdle being able to squat over 300 pounds and then having to be carried to your bed in a very short period of time. So that was my true route to medicine. It was that because when I saw the pain that I went through and experienced it, and then had the experience of, I have to figure this out for my life, for my loved ones, that was just pure fuel on the fire. So those two things kind of happened simultaneously because sports were always involved in my life, but that was really the gasoline on the fire that got me into medicine. Adam, I lost you.
Yeah, I'm saying that. I'm sorry that it's awesome in the sense of you turned a hardship into a path of healing and helping. And I probably shared this with you. I was diagnosed with colitis when I was younger, in my early 20s. I think a lot of it was generated from stress, anxiety, and eating like crap too. And understanding the component of, oh, it slipped me. What's the term that may fall underneath? I can't think of it. I'll get to it. But autoimmune.
Yeah, autoimmune. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's like a catch-all phrase now for if they don't know exactly what's going on, it's autoimmune, it's your body. It kind of is what it is. And
Well,
that's it's
I
like
had a similar thing. I had when I was in my early 20s, same thing, drinking, partying, being a knucklehead. And then I remember meeting with the doctor, and they're like, "Yeah, we think you have ulcerative colitis, and you're probably gonna have to put you on a colostomy bag." And I was like, "I am not gonna be picking up chicks with a colostomy bag." And it was almost like I'm like, "What do I got to do? Stop this, start this." I even think, man, that I believe the brain, our body is so powerful that the idea of having to have a colostomy bag, and I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, was so powerful to my mind that I was like, within a couple weeks, eating clean, I went like on a white foods diet, right? Um, Now I wouldn't say that my gut is perfect today. I got to watch what I eat. And I know it's like, if I eat pizza, cool, I'm going to feel like crap. There's certain, I have a gluten allergy. Like, there's lots of things like that. But also later in the, but it really got me hunkered down to, I was like, this dude wanted to put me in a colostomy bag, and then I didn't have to because I changed what I ate and supplements I decided to start taking. That really triggered a lot of my understanding. I knew a lot about hormones and bodybuilding and eating food to build muscle, but I didn't understand about gut and gut health and different foods and how it matters to our body. And that also triggered me to go down the path of medicine and really my challenge. And also prior to that, I had an issue where I had super low testosterone for a young man in my early 20s, and that was impossible to solve. Nobody there, like, I don't know. Nobody didn't know about TBIs and all these kinds. How many times I've been knocked out? I was thinking about that when I was snowboarding this weekend. My family, like how everybody wears a helmet. Dude, I didn't wear a helmet doing anything. The only time I ever wore a helmet when I was a kid, when I raced BMX, they made you wear a helmet. Other than that, skateboarding, BMXing, I mean, dude, I do backflips, snowboarding, land up like overturn, land on my back, knock myself, wake up like in the snow, cold, like, just get up and shake it off. Like, God knows who knows? But we think that had something to do with having low testosterone as a kid. I couldn't find anyone, so that kind of frustrated me too. Even going into when I was 38 years old, what got me into regenerative medicine is I had a Achilles tendon tear, but it started with, I had salmonella that kicked off autoimmune. And we know that because I tested positive for HLA-B27. Nobody, dude, they were testing me for HIV and Chunkalunga virus and West Nile. I'm like, dude, it ain't whatever you're testing, right? And then I had a doc friend of mine who was more on the functional side. He's like, yeah, you probably got an autoimmune. What's in your guts probably still lingering from the salmonella. He had me take like a high dose vitamin C, 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C per hour with food until I reached bowel tolerance. And he's like, that'll probably kick it out. And then we got to help rebuild your body with peptides and stem cells. And that was back in 2018. And within 6 months, I mean, I was 9 months, I thought it was the end of my life. Like physically, I couldn't work out anymore. My wife had to drop me off at the front of restaurants because walking through the parking lot was so much because my body would heal. I felt on fire. My C-reactive protein, and I was healthy, got my blood work done every quarter. And I remember the week before I went to Dominican Republic when this salmonella issue happened, my C-reactive protein was like 1. And when I got back and they checked my blood work, it was 33. Just massive inflammation. And, but anyway, it led me into the regenerative medicine side, solving all those kind of issues, starting business. And so I think how we see our trials and tribulations, and a lot of physicians that I've worked with and interviewed all have kind of a story that led them down the path. And it's like, I had a problem. I found some solutions. I want to help everybody with it. I don't wish anybody to have to deal with it, that path, but I think the people that have a major heart to help because they've dealt with it as well in their life.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it can definitely be an advantage if you turn into an advantage because, but it took a lot of work. Like I kind of bust through it, but it's like it was a lot of trauma I had to turn into an experience. And I had to look at it as an experience to then up level my life because when you go through that, there's like little things that psychologically mess you up. Like just like you were saying, colostomy bag. I remember going in the hospital with pain, they were touching my stomach, and there was like a student doctor. He was like, "Yeah, it could be the appendix or gallbladder. Those are both commonly removed." And I'm like, why are we removing things, if we don't know for certain what's going on? And that mentally messes with you. But I'm thankful for it now because through that time, like I stopped drinking. I saw what a radical change in your life can happen with nutrition. I saw a radical change in education. Like I didn't read any books growing up. And then I got sick and I was in my dorm room and I didn't leave my dorm room and I was depressed. So I started reading books. And yeah, now I've read probably more books than I would have ever imagined, which again, up leveled my success in other areas of life. So, I'm grateful for it now, as crazy as it seems, but it was not easy. And I don't wish it upon anyone. I don't think it's necessary for success, but it definitely helped. It definitely helped me. I mean, that's all I can say.
Yeah, we have choices of how we respond to situations that are sometimes outside of our control, and even in some situations are there is part of our control, right? Like you said, you had lifestyle changes, right? So you had an opportunity to change it. I mean, some people don't always see that. They kind of play the victim game, and I'm like, dude, where's the opportunity? But it wasn't always that way. And so I think that mindset shift too allows you to, become a great entrepreneur, solve problems, help lots of people when you're obsessed with trying to find a way because you've had to find a way. It was interesting. My son, like this weekend hanging out, we were in Park City and he had his, soccer, he's in the semifinals. Now they're going to the state finals, state championship, which is pretty cool. And I was just thinking, I didn't have anything like that as a kid, right? And so I didn't have the support and didn't have the means. And I think how cool for my son to like, gets to play in Austin at the semifinal game and then hop on a flight to Park City and then go like snowboarding, and I've explained to him and because, I share this because him and I are talking about, he wants to be an entrepreneur. He wants to build a business. And by no means do I want anything to happen to him that forces him to learn how to survive, how to get out of it. Like, I didn't have an option. I had single mom. We didn't have any money. Like there was no net, right? Like it was like, dude, you go or you're dead. And I was explaining to him like how to instill that in him. Like, I don't want you to ever have to go through what I had to learn. I want you to proactively pursue those things so you can have a massive life way bigger than anything I built. But the folks that do have to go through struggle, it's a great opportunity to learn. And some people stay stuck in the struggle. It's a mindset. Or some people say, like, I mean, I'll choose anger over victim any day, right? I got pissed off and I'm going to figure it out. So my challenges led me to start a nationwide telemedicine company, which I've helped tens of thousands of people. My challenges helped me get into regenerative medicine. Again, help tens of thousands of people. And so how we interpret it every time I hit a roadblock or a problem, a challenge, something doesn't go my way, I'm like, well, there's a lesson here. That's the blessing. I'm going to try to figure it out, even as frustrating as it might be. And it's welcome to being an entrepreneur. Right. And so I think there's a part of that too, which kind of segues into another part of this conversation. So you decide to get into medicine. Talk about the path you chose.
Yeah, so my first path was within IBD, within gut health. So I went and got a degree in nutrition right after graduating from South Carolina. So I graduated with a degree in public health. At that time, I was looking at DO, MD, DC. I was pretty nailed down to. I ended up going DC, which maybe I can explain why I did that. But I got my nutrition degree right there with it. So certification with that. And I just immediately started helping people with IBD and with the gut because that's what I knew most about. I had the privilege to help hundreds of people all over the world. Uh, I make a joke that I've helped someone in every continent except Antarctica. So I'm waiting for someone to call me from Antarctica. Um, it was a really good experience because I was able to take my story and use it for better, and I was able to help a lot of people ages, 2 to 76. I helped within that realm. People that didn't speak English who had a translator, people who post-surgery, pre-surgery, athletes, children, so many cases, and it was really, really good experience and got to help a lot of people. So that's what I did right after school. And then following chiropractor school, I ended up getting a practice and buying a practice, and that was through you, Adam, which I, shout out to Adam. So basically how that came about was I I was on the Bible study, the free Bible study Adam does every Monday, and I was wearing a shirt that said above, down, inside out, which is a saying in chiropractic, talking about healing. It comes from above, down, inside out, the body. Anyways, I was wearing that shirt, and a doc DM me within the within the chat. I would say his name, but I don't know if he wants me to say his name, so I'm not. But he'll probably be listening to this. So yeah, I just because I didn't ask him. So anyways, he DM'd me, but it's no secret. Love him. He DM'd me and he was like, "Hey, are you a chiropractor?" I said, "Yeah." So anyways, we connected that weekend, and we just had a hour phone call maybe. It was very casual, and we just talk until we didn't. I probably one of our wives said it was time to do something else. Well, we just really hit it off, and at the time, he had someone to take over his practice. Yeah, that's what it was, is he had someone in place to take over his practice. It was a good, successful practice, everything like that. About 2 to 3 weeks later, I texted him just checking in and reached out to him. I actually had a thought about a tithe that I reached out to him about because I knew, he was on that mastermind, and we talked about Christianity a lot on our first call. And he replied, "That's crazy, just texting me. The other doc just backed out." So then that is when I acted fast. I got on a plane 48 hours later, came up here, met him in person, lived with him for, 48 hours, and saw him practice, saw everything. And the thing is, he needed to be out within like 3 weeks. And there, he had a very small time window of availability. And you introducing me with risk is I saw this as a healthy risk. My wife was on board. Like before I left, she was like, "We're headed up there," and she was fully supportive, which is huge and probably a huge part of the story that will go, unspoken today. But she was very supportive, and yeah, so came up here, loved it. Opportunity made sense, and it's been going great. We've been growing month over month from an already strong foundation, thanks to the docs previous to me, and then we just acquired our second office, which is 40 minutes away, and so now we have 2 offices in less than 6 months, which is huge. So that's what I'm doing right now, and I don't know what part of the story you want me to expand on because there's a lot of it, but yeah, just
I'll share a little bit, and you may remember this.
please.
But I always think of these distinct conversations. Like it's like sometimes you have conversations with people, and something stands out forever. And I'll never forget when we first met, and we were talking about, hey, yeah, I do some coaching, consulting, and things of that nature, and we were talking about the tuition, and you made a comment, and you're like, yeah, I don't know, I got this rental property now, and you know, I have this money that I'm thinking I need to invest into this investment property. And I shared a perspective. I said, "Well, what do you think about investing in yourself? And what do you think is going to benefit and have the greatest return, you or a building?" Right. And oftentimes, we talk about real estate as a safe bet and, some of those things. And I remember when you responded, you're like, "Me, I'm my greatest investment." And I was like, "This guy's ready." And I remember that just impressed me that you had the foresight to see that, because a lot of people don't, because people operate mostly in scarcity, which you definitely don't. And I love that about you. And, I think in watching your mindset shift and continue to lean into possibility versus scarcity, which again, where most people live. And then what happens, I believe spiritually, like God will open the door when you're ready, right? He can't provide you a path that you won't go down. Right. And a lot of times, a lot of people are standing around scared and maybe even pessimistic on the possibility and miss opportunity. Right. And I think when your eyes are open and your heart is open, which yours clearly was, and then it's proximity. You're in the place, right? You're on a Bible study. You weren't there to get business. It wasn't some edge. It wasn't like you're chasing down an investor. I think too many people spend so much time chasing the thing that they want versus the mindset and perspective that they need. And you're in a Bible study, and there it is. You meet another doc, which is awesome. He's a great guy. Known him for a long time. And I've also worked with him, right? I've worked with him on some of the things with him, the mindset and things like that. And then you seize that opportunity, which was a great transition and transformation for you. And now it seems like that's just keeps snowballing from a success standpoint.
Absolutely. Yeah, I talked to him the other week, and we were catching up. I was telling him about the new practice, And basically the moral or the theme of the call was I'm working a lot right now. Um, but he said something very wise was, as God says, the reward for good work is more work. And that's been sitting with me for the last week or two because, things are very busy here. And I'm blessed that they're busy and I'm blessed they're good. But it's a lot of work. And, so right now we're working on getting a doctor in place to help stabilize things. And so we're kind of in this transition period. So right now we got 2 offices running.
Well, I think you left that out. There's another part. Just recently, you acquired a second practice.
Yes, second practice. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So like 6 months ago, you had no practice. Then you went to one practice, and then just more recently, you've acquired a second practice. And again, it sounds silly when people don't get it. I know you will, and hopefully some of the people listen will. Is what exists. How you perceive it is up to you. This is where we have control, right? Opportunity or obstacle, right? And there's things that come on our plate. And again, I believe, and this is every day in prayer. I'm like, God, I want your eyes. Give me your eyes to see, the ears to hear, because I'm a knucklehead. I won't see it, right? His ways are greater than ours. And so when we surrender to that and have humility, stuff just floats. Like, man, look, some opportunity, the opportunity you had to acquire that practice. That's an amazing opportunity. I don't believe it would have come your way if you had not been prepared. To just the belief system of like, dude, I can do this. Why not? Not thinking about what all could go wrong, but thinking about what all could go right, being mission focused. And you possess that. And I think what the speed and what happens when that's your mindset is incredible. And a lot of people will look at you and say, man, you seemed lucky. No, dude, it's just a mindset shift, right? And what's got me where I'm at today to where I was, some of it's brutal. Like work, and I'm still like, I'm gonna work, dude. I love to work, but you have a decision. You can work your whole life and hate what you do, or you can work your whole life and love what you do. I'm just gonna work my whole life. I'm not gonna stop. I enjoy it. Being able to fill your calendar with the things that you want to do. Not all of it's wonderful and glamorous, right? There's going to be some stuff that sucks, but it's part of the process. And that when you just embrace that process, I think doors just blow open for you. Provision and people and process and path all flow when your heart and mind's in the right position. And yours is. I'm excited to continue to witness what you get to do and support you any way I can. What do you think are some of the things you're most excited about today and some of the challenges? What do you think are, some of the inner conversations that you've had to have with yourself to keep stepping up?
You got to keep stepping up. That's a good question. I have a lot of inner conversations. What I'm excited about is building a chiropractic business that is beyond me. And I'm doing that very early on for the profession. For whatever reason, chiropractors tend to build a practice around themselves, and it's not truly a business, it's more of a job for themselves. So I'm on fire and I'm eager to grow something way more massive than myself and be nationwide. And that's part of the reason I acquired a second practice with a baby 2 months away. It's not that I don't love my family and my life. With my vision and my goals, I know that it was a necessary step, and it was too good of a step to not take. So yeah, that wasn't the best example or best tangent, but I'm I just went back home for a baby shower, and a lot of friends and things are kind of talking to me like without sounding egotistic that I made it in a sense. And I feel very far from that, because where I see the company, the vision of me going, like I feel like this podcast is very early on in early stages. So it'll be cool to come back and see this. So I'm fired up about building a chiropractic practice that has tremendous reach, that has strong core values, doesn't lose a chiropractic philosophy like I believe some of the big chiropractic organizations have. And just to help so many people, because our health in the nation is declining rapidly, and we could call it autoimmune. You can put any label on it, but if we get back to the way God designed the body to work and operate, and we remove the obstacles, the body innately wants to be healthy. So it's more than the chiropractic adjustment. It's the lifestyle, and it's the understanding of how the body works, how the body functions, in creating a healthier America. So that's what's really excites me. Inner conversations, I have a lot of them. One is I had one on the plane the other day. So I flew I flew back to North Carolina after adjusting over 200 people, working 6 days in a row and doing things on top of that. I was tired on the plane, and I put on some worship music, and I was like, is this worth it? Because you have those moments. It was like, is this worth it? And then I had this instant download. I was like, I almost wish it was harder, because then I would have less competition, which sounds a little psychotic. And I don't think it's a true competition. There's too many people to help to be true competition, but it's like there should be expectation that it should be hard, because it is hard. And that kind of refueled me of like, what I'm doing is not easy. My dad says a lot, if it was easy, everyone would do it, which to some degree I do believe in that. But again, I'm not trying to manifest something to be harder than it should. I don't think you should force pain upon yourself to succeed. But to that regard, I think that I should be blessed that I was that tired on the plane, because I had touched over 200 people, and at the same time building the business and doing things on the back end to grow. Like, that is a privilege. And going back to my story, like, when you're as hopeless as I was at 18, 19, it's very minuscule to what an entrepreneur kind of deals with. And it's not, you don't have to lose your health to get that. People get it in all different type of ways, all different type of traumas. And you can learn it yourself, so you don't have to go through it. But like, at the end of the day, I continue to go back to how blessed I am to experience that, because I see everything as opportunity rather than the opposite. And again, like being tired, the other night I was tired. I told my wife, I literally said, I'm so blessed to be this tired, because that many people need me and want me. So that's the most recent inner conversation I had. And yeah, I almost wish there was more time in the day just so I could work more, as crazy as it sounds, because even though I'm tired, I'm still having fun. I still love it. And I want to do more, but there's only so much time. And that's why working with you, Adam, is huge, because it allows me to increase my capacity. And my capacity now is probably twice as much as 6 months ago before I had the practice. It's probably over 2x. And right now it's hard to see a capacity greater, but I know that will be 2x in probably 3 months, not six. So as I continue to increase my capacity, it gives me more drive, more motivation, more happiness, and more eagerness to go out there and succeed, because I have a big vision, and we're going to help a lot of people. So yeah.
Yeah. And I use the analogy a lot with weight training. And I believe, subscribe to this belief system of like, if you ask God for more strength, how do you get stronger? You add more weight, right? So the weight cannot remain the same for your strength to increase. Sometimes you can increase endurance, but endurance isn't rarely what I'm asking for. I need more strength. I think of something, I use the analogy of a 225-pound bench press, right? I can do that with plenty of reps. I'm not scared of 225 pounds. You get 315 on there, I'm like, ooh, it's pushing it. 400 pounds, I know I'm going to probably hurt myself. But that same 225 would kill 99% of people if they tried to lift it, right? And so there's an aspect of realizing that today, whatever weight you're experiencing, you have a choice. Add more weight to get stronger. And then, well, like you talked about, is it increases your capacity. And so most people's, the ceiling of their success is going to be limited by the weight, their ability, they're able to tolerate or lift. And so, that's why I also love working with athletic people, because they understand that concept. They understand too, even that inner voice, whether you're running, you're lifting something, you're like, 2 more reps, 1 more set, whatever it is, like you just continue to push yourself further and further and further. And when you can subscribe to that concept and that belief system, realizing like, dude, I'm a weight lifter, and I'm going to continue to add more weight. And sometimes you got to pause and plateau for a little bit and work on your form, right? Like there's a lot of, I have docs that I work with that go, one of my docs, he went from like 600 grand a year, 2 million, into this last year, he did 4.8 million. Well, it's hard to grow that fast and have a sustainable foundation. So sometimes it's like, hey, dude, let's take a quarter off of the growth and spend some time on the process, the function, right? So going back to weight training, on the form, and maybe it's, how are we preparing for that? Are we stretching? Are we warming up? All these kind of things that maybe we sped through to prove what was possible, and then come back down a little bit. So it's not failure, to pause and stop growth. Like, you get in the second practice. Is it a third practice in the next 90 days? I don't know, maybe, probably not. You got a kid coming here pretty soon. You're gonna be a dad soon. Your whole life's gonna change. But the other part of it, you talked about that earlier. There's never a right time. It's the right time is now, and you figure it out, right? You're gonna add the weight of a kid and some of all these things in your life. But
Yeah.
it's like, dude, your capacity stretches. You look, man, I need to get more organized, right? Maybe I need to read some more books of how to improve in this area of my life. And that's where I think I consider myself a warrior. And a warrior does not focus on where their strengths are. Their warrior focus on where their weaknesses are, because that's where we're most vulnerable. Then how do we continue to grow in that area? Right. And I see you doing all of those things. You're humble. You're also very vulnerable. And I think that's a path to a lot of docs struggle with that. Ego's leading the way. Listen, dude, your ego is going to lead you right down to Loserville if you can't smash it, so that you can be vulnerable to figure out where you need to work so that you can get stronger in those areas. Right. And it's a balancing act. There's no balance. Balance is kind of a lie, but there's capacity in how we manage our capacity and continue to grow it. Right.
I think something else with the bodybuilding analogy is it is who you surround yourself with too. Because if you're lifting with people who lift more, you're gonna lift more. And I think I've done a good job of that last few months is focusing on surrounding myself with people who are lifting more or at least support the amount I lift. Because when I was gonna take on the second practice, which I was searching for someone to tell me no or it's a bad idea. And I was calling people like even you, Adam. I was like I always said I have a kid on the way, first kid, and so I led with the bad, and then well not the bad. Like that sounded wrong, but why I shouldn't do it. I led with why I shouldn't do it because I wanted to be a dad more than anything, and I want to be a good dad, just like my dad was. I want to be present, and I don't want business to take from my family life because God, family, health is priority. But I was looking for a reason not to take the practice, but everyone I talked to was like, "Oh, yeah, there's never a perfect time. The time's right. It's a golden opportunity. This is, God telling you this is a blessing in a sense, even though it came in a way that wasn't a blessing. Not to get into that, but just because the prior doc had an unfortunate event. We I didn't find anyone who told me not to do it. Even like my family, they supported me, and I think that's because one, my capacity's grown, and then two, I intentionally surround myself with people who want what's best for me and are lifting heavy. And for them, it was like, yeah, it's second practice, you should do it. So I would just put put that on top of the analogy is, lifting with people who lift heavier than you, I think is important.
Yeah, I think not enough people are in things like masterminds or surround themselves. I call it king of the crap heads. Like a lot of people want to hang around. They want to be the top guy in their little circle,
Yeah,
which is an ego thing. I want to be around guys doing bigger stuff than me. Like even, later on this week, I'll go out to Scottsdale and I'll get around. I got a group of guys we meet at least twice a year. These dudes, I mean, half, they got private jets. They're doing big stuff, right? And it has nothing to do with the money or anything like that, but it's about the mindset, right? Like it's rare that I'm in a room and I'm sharing what I'm doing and what I want to do. And some people are like, oh, you're thinking too small, right? Oh, you're missing your potential. I'm like, whoa, there's a lot of people potentially in my life that would tell me to slow down, chill out. When's enough?
yeah,
Never did. Until the good Lord calls me home, I'm letting it rip. You get one shot at this life, man. And the goal is not to acquire a bunch of things, but it's to have impact, right? An impact on my kids, to impact on people I'll never meet. Like that means a lot to me. And so like that's weight. There's weight right there, right? How you show up every day, how you lead by example, what the character of who you are as a person from your unborn child to people you're going to help 10 years from now, right? Like you're building that person that they need. And here's someone that maybe listening today that hasn't really got started yet. There's somebody who's not where you're at today, right? There's somebody who hasn't got that first practice, or like there's somebody who hasn't got started yet, but you've taken the first steps. And I think when we decide, like, and I talked about this today, I spoke at an event for this North Houston Association about leadership and explaining that like leadership is a decision that we make. And I'm leading my home. I'm leading it in business. I'm leading everywhere I go, right? In the church and all these things, because I've chosen to be a leader. And there's a lot of weight involved in that decision. But my capacity to continue to grow is totally up to me. And so I think you continue to make that decision to grow and be a leader and create impact. You just keep getting stronger. You're like, man, how'd I get this strong? Well, I just kept adding weight. Yeah. Well,
Absolutely.
any last minute things that you want to share? I think this has been great. I think there's a lot of value, a lot of nuggets in this conversation that we had. And I'm so proud of all the stuff you've done. I'm blessed to get to work with you and work on projects together as well. Anything else that you want to share for the listeners that you think's something that could be super valuable for them?
Last thing I'll share, I guess, is to keep God first. I'm building out our core values for Innate Chiropractic as I bring on team members, because that's what our priority is right now. And that is our number one core value, is keeping God first. Because like you said, I think this life's temporary, but for me, that adds fuel to the fire, because it's like, how can we make this world a better place for the kingdom? And how can we motivate ourselves and lead with abundance rather than scarcity? Because I think in Christianity, there is a lot of scarcity. Just like chiropractic, you have an abundant profession, abundant religion, we can call it, or abundant relationship with God, but scarcity kind of still leads the way because it's easy. Yeah, it's easy. So that's what I'll leave today with, is keep God first and stay abundant. I think it's ultra important.
Yeah, I summarize that for myself as what you focus on, you find, right? And so walking and talking with God all day long, starting my morning with prayer, ending my evening with prayer, all those things, because again, it's a form of surrender. And as I surrender my will to his will, he's going to show me the way. And then when you can totally grasp the power of the abundant God that we serve, you almost can be delusional at what you can accomplish. And it's true, should you believe, right? Jesus says, if you believe you can put that mountain into the ocean, you can. And so I haven't been able to physically move any mountains yet. I'm still trying to move a pen on my desk. But so I know there's still a lot of work to do and a lot of surrender to happen. And I think that that's amazing advice. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being on the show. I'm grateful for you. I'm excited for you, your family, your future, and excited to kind of get to witness it and support you in any way I can. Thank you for being on the podcast. For all those listeners, please make sure you like, subscribe, and share this episode and the 1% Doctor podcast. We will see you next time. I'm Adam Lamb, your host. Have a blessed day. Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the 1% Doctor. Please be sure to subscribe to the show, where you're able to consume more podcasts, get more value, and learn more about doctors potentially just like you. Please tell a friend, review the show, and we'll see you in the next episode.